Kim Tae-sung wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the busy halls of Haven's Rest Trading Station. The air smelled like oil, metal, and 100 different alien foods cooking in the food courts. Strange creatures from across the galaxy moved around him, talking in languages he did not understand. Tae-sung was tired. He had been flying his cargo ship alone for 3 months now, moving supplies between human colonies and alien trade stations. The work paid well, but it was lonely. His ship, the Soul Runner, needed fuel and repairs. Haven's Rest was the perfect place to get both. The station was huge, built inside an old asteroid. Lights flashed everywhere, and the sound of machines. Working never stopped. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked, crawled, and floated through the corridors. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Tae-sung could not even guess what planet they came from. He pushed through a crowd of short, furry traders and headed toward the supply district. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Most aliens ignored him. Humans were common here, though not always welcome. Many species thought humans were too violent, too quick to fight. Tae-sung tried to keep to himself and avoid trouble, but trouble had a way of finding him. As he turned a corner near the fuel depot, he heard voices, angry voices. 3 large, green-scaled creatures stood around a smaller figure pressed against the wall. Tae-sung recognized the big aliens immediately. Vorthak. They were known throughout this part of the galaxy as bullies and killers. The small figure they surrounded was female, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly under the station lights. She had long white hair and wore simple clothes. Her people were called Ashanti, and Tae-sung had seen a few of them before. They were peaceful folk, known for being smart and kind. "You owe protection money," the largest Vorthak growled. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "All traders pay, no exceptions." "I am not a trader," the blue-skinned woman said, quietly. Her voice was musical, unlike the harsh sounds the Vorthak made. "I have no money to give you." "Everyone pays," another Vorthak said, stepping closer. "Or we take payment another way." The third Vorthak laughed, a sound that made Tae-sung's skin crawl. "Ashanti females bring good prices in the slave markets." Tae-sung felt his hands curl into fists. He had seen this kind of thing before. The Vorthak thought they could push around anyone smaller or weaker. Most people just walked away. It was safer that way. Smarter, too. But Tae-sung could not walk away. His little sister Bo Young had been killed by raiders 5 years ago. He had not been there to protect her. The guilt still ate at him every day. He would not let another innocent person suffer if he could help it. The Ashanti woman looked scared, but tried to stand tall. "Please, I just want to leave. I mean no trouble." "Too late for that," the big Vorthak said. He reached out with one clawed hand toward her face. "Hey!" Tae-sung called out, stepping into the open. "Leave her alone." The 3 Vorthak turned to look at him. They were each twice his size, with thick scales that could stop most weapons. Their yellow eyes looked him up and down like he was a bug they might step on. "Walk away, human," the leader said. "This is not your business." "I am making it my business," Tae-sung said. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his voice steady. "She said she has no money. Find someone else to bother." The Ashanti woman stared at him with wide, silver eyes. She seemed surprised that anyone would help her. "Stupid human," one of the smaller Vorthak hissed. "You want to die for this blue skin?" Tae-sung did not answer. Instead, he looked around quickly. The corridor was mostly empty now. Other aliens had seen the Vorthak and hurried away. No one wanted to get involved. The station had security, but they rarely helped with minor disputes between different species. Tae-sung was on his own. He noticed a control panel on the wall nearby. Emergency lighting controls. An idea started to form in his mind. "Last chance, human," the Vorthak leader said. "Walk away or join her in the slave pens." "I have a better idea," Tae-sung said. He pulled out his plasma cutter, a tool used for ship repairs, and aimed it at the control panel. "How about you let her go?" The Vorthak laughed. "You think that little tool scares us?" Tae-sung smiled grimly. "Not you. This." He fired the plasma cutter at the control panel. Sparks flew everywhere as the emergency systems kicked in. All the lights in the corridor went out, leaving them in complete darkness. The Vorthak had good night vision, but not perfect. In the confusion, Tae-sung grabbed the Ashanti woman's hand and pulled her toward a maintenance hatch he had seen earlier. "This way," he whispered. She followed him without question. They crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel as angry roars echoed behind them. The Vorthak were too big to follow them through the small space. After several minutes of crawling, they emerged in the docking bay where Tae-sung's ship waited. The Soul Runner was not much to look at, but she was fast and reliable. "Get on board," Tae-sung told the woman as he started the ship's engines. "We need to leave. Now." She climbed up the loading ramp as Tae-sung ran through the startup sequence. His hands moved quickly over the controls, preparing for emergency departure. "Wait," the woman said as the ramp closed. "You do not understand. They will hunt you now. The Vorthak do not forget." "Neither do I," Tae-sung said grimly. The ship lifted off from the docking platform just as security forces arrived. He could see the three Vorthak talking to station officials, pointing in their direction. As the Soul Runner accelerated away from Haven's Rest, the woman sat down in the co-pilot seat. "I am Yuna," she said softly. "Why did you help me? You do not even know me." Tae-sung stared out at the stars ahead. "Because it was the right thing to do." But he had no idea that this simple act of kindness would change everything. Not just for him and Yuna, but for the entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since they escaped Haven's Rest. Tae-sung sat in the pilot seat of the Soul Runner, watching the scanner screen with tired eyes. Red dots kept appearing at the edge of their sensor range. Bounty hunters. They had been following the ship since yesterday. "Another one just jumped in," he said quietly. Yuna looked up from the navigation console where she had been working. Her blue skin seemed paler than before, and worry showed in her silver eyes. "How many does that make?" "7 ships now," Tae-sung said. He rubbed his face with both hands. "Word is spreading fast. The Vorthak must be offering a good reward for us." The first day after their escape had been quiet. Tae-sung thought they had gotten away clean. But then the news reports started coming in over the communication channels. The Vorthak Empire had declared him an enemy of the state. They said he had murdered one of their citizens without cause. That was not true, of course. Tae-sung had killed the Vorthak in self-defense when they tried to stop him and Yuna from reaching his ship. But the truth did not matter to bounty hunters. They only cared about the money. "I am sorry," Yuna said for the 100th time. "This is my fault. You should leave me somewhere and run." "Not happening," Tae-sung said firmly. "We stick together." Over the past 3 days, he had learned a lot about his passenger. Yuna was not just any Ashanti civilian. She was actually Princess Hana, heir to the Ashanti collective. She had been traveling in secret, trying to reach other worlds to ask for help. Her people were in trouble. The Vorthak Empire had been attacking Ashanti colonies for months, taking their people as slaves and stealing their technology. The peaceful Ashanti had no real military to fight back with. But Hana had not told him the whole truth yet. Tai-Sung could sense she was hiding something important. Something that explained why the Vorthak wanted her so badly. "There," Hana said suddenly, pointing at the navigation screen. "Turn toward that asteroid field. I can guide us through it." Tai-Sung looked at the massive field of floating rocks ahead of them. "That looks dangerous. How do you know the way?" "Trust me," she said. "My people have abilities your kind does not. I can sense the safe paths." Tai-Sung had heard rumors about Ashanti telepathic powers, but he had never seen them in action. He changed course toward the asteroid field. Behind them, the bounty hunter ships followed. As they entered the field, Hana closed her eyes and placed her hands on the navigation controls. "Left here," she said softly. "Now right. Slow down." The ship twisted and turned between massive floating rocks. Some of the asteroids were as big as space stations. Tai-Sung had never seen flying like this before. It was like Hana could see paths that were not there. One by one, the bounty hunter ships fell behind. 2 crashed into asteroids trying to follow them. The others gave up and turned back. "How did you do that?" Tai-Sung asked when they finally cleared the field. "I can feel the movement of the rocks," Hana explained. "All Ashanti can do this to some degree. It is how we navigate space without advanced computers." Tai-Sung was impressed. Humans had always thought they were the best pilots in the galaxy, but this was something else entirely. Their peaceful moment did not last long. The communication system started beeping with an incoming message. Tai-Sung almost ignored it, thinking it was another bounty hunter. But then he saw the sender code. "Minho?" he said, accepting the call. The face of his old friend Park Minho appeared on the screen. Minho had been a military pilot before becoming a cargo hauler like Tai-Sung. They had served together years ago. "Tai-Sung, you crazy fool," Minho said with a grin. "What have you gotten yourself into this time?" "Minho, how did you find us?" Tai-Sung asked. "I have been tracking the news feeds. Every bounty hunter in 3 sectors is looking for you." Minho's expression became serious. "But you are not alone anymore. Word about what you did is spreading through the human colonies." "What do you mean?" "You stood up to the Vorthak Empire for a stranger. Do you know how long it has been since someone did something like that? Humans are calling you a hero." Tai-Sung felt uncomfortable with that word. "I just did what was right." "Exactly," Minho said. "And now other humans want to do what is right too. I have 5 ships with me. We are here to help." On the screen, Tai-Sung could see other ships moving into formation around Minho's vessel. All human ships. All volunteers who had come to help. Them reach safety. "This is incredible," Hana whispered. She was staring at the screen with amazement. "Your people would risk their lives for strangers?" "Some of us would," Tai-Sung said. He felt proud of his species for the first time in years. Over the next few hours, the small human fleet escorted the Soul Runner toward Ashanti space. Minho's ship, the Busan Express, flew alongside them. The other ships spread out to watch for threats. During the journey, Hana finally told Tai-Sung the whole truth. "My people possess something called heart stones," she said. "They are crystals that can enhance the natural abilities of any living being. The Vorthak want to steal them to create an unstoppable army." "How powerful are these stones?" Tae-sung asked. Very powerful. In the wrong hands, they could conquer the galaxy. Hana looked sad. My grandmother is the keeper of the stones. She has been hiding them, but the Vorthak are getting closer to finding her. Tae-sung understood now why she had been traveling in secret. She had been trying to find allies who could help protect her people and their ancient technology. There is something else, Hana said quietly. The Heartstones can create permanent bonds between different species. They can share knowledge, strength, even lifespan, but no one outside my people has ever been deemed worthy of such a bond. Before Tae-sung could ask what she meant, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. On the scanner screen, dozens of new contacts appeared. Big ones. Vorthak Battle Fleet. Minho's voice crackled over the radio. They found us. Through the window, Tae-sung could see massive warships dropping out of hyperspace. They were surrounded. This is War Master Throck of the Vorthak Empire, a deep voice announced over all frequencies. Surrender the Ashanti female and the human terrorist. You have 10 minutes to comply. Tae-sung looked at Hana. She was pale but determined. We keep running, he said. There are too many of them, Minho said over the radio. We cannot fight a whole battle fleet. Then we find another way, Tae-sung said. He turned to Hana. How far to your home world? 6 hours at maximum speed, she said. Then we run for 6 hours. Tae-sung pushed the ship's engines to full power. Minho, can your people buy us some time? We will do what we can, his friend replied. But Tae-sung, this might be goodbye. No, Tae-sung said firmly. We all make it home. All of us. As the Soul Runner accelerated toward Ashanti space, the human escort ships turned to face the Vorthak fleet. They were outnumbered 50-1, but they did not run. Behind them, space lit up with weapon fire as the battle began. Tae-sung flew, faster than he had ever flown before, with Hana guiding him through dangerous routes that only she could see. They were racing against time, and the fate of an entire species hung in the balance. The Soul Runner burst out of hyperspace near the Ashanti homeworld just as the ship's engines began to overheat. Smoke filled the cabin, and warning lights flashed red across every control panel. Tae-sung had pushed the old cargo hauler harder than ever before. We made it, he said, coughing as he tried to clear the air filters. Through the cockpit window, he could see a beautiful blue and green planet surrounded by small defense platforms. The Ashanti homeworld looked peaceful, like a place where nothing bad could ever happen. But Hana was staring at something else. Ships, hundreds of them, gathered in formation around the planet. Human ships! How did they get here so fast? She asked in amazement. The communication system crackled to life. Soul Runner, this is Captain Lee So-min of the Human Colonial Defense Force. Please respond. Tae-sung had heard of Captain Lee. She was famous throughout human space for her victories against pirate fleets. What was she doing here? This is Kim Tae-sung, he said into the microphone. Captain Lee, I thought the Defense Force was neutral in this conflict. Officially, we are, Captain Lee replied. Her voice was strong and confident. Unofficially, a lot of humans think what you did was exactly what we should all be doing. We are here as volunteers. More voices came over the radio. Dozens of human ship captains, all saying they had come to help. Word of Tae-sung's stand against the Vorthak had spread through the colonies like wildfire. It had inspired something that had been sleeping in the human spirit for too long. Permission to come aboard your ship, Captain Lee said. We need to talk. An hour later, Tae-sung sat in his ship's small meeting room with Captain Lee and Princess Hana. Captain Lee was a small woman with short black hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore the blue uniform of the Defense Force, but she had removed all the official insignia. The Vorthak Empire has been pushing around smaller species for decades, Captain Lee said. Most governments look the other way because they are afraid of starting a war. But you changed that. How? Taesung asked. You showed that someone could stand up to them and win. Now other species are starting to rebel. The Korvaxi threw out their Vorthak overseers yesterday. The Deltans have closed their borders to Vorthak ships. It is spreading. Hana looked amazed. All because of what happened at Haven's Rest? Sometimes one spark can start a fire, Captain Lee said. Your grandmother wants to meet with both of you immediately. She says it is urgent. They took a shuttle down to the planet's surface. The Ashanti capital city was unlike anything Taesung had ever seen. Buildings seemed to grow out of the ground like living trees, their walls glowing softly with internal light. Gardens filled every open space, and the air smelled like flowers. The people were beautiful too. All Ashanti had the same pale blue, skin and silver eyes as Hana, but each one seemed to glow with an inner peace that Taesung envied. Elder Aaron, Hana's grandmother, waited for them in a crystal chamber at the heart of the city. She was very old, even by Ashanti standards, but her mind was still sharp. When she looked at Taesung, he felt like she could see into his soul. So you are the human who would spill blood for a stranger, she said in a voice like music. Sit. We have much to discuss. She led them to cushions arranged around a pool of perfectly still water. The Heartstones have been calling to me since you arrived, she told Taesung. They have never reacted to an outsider before. Grandmother, Hana said, I told him about the stones. He knows what the Vorthak want. But does he know what we want? Elder Aaron asked. She looked directly at Taesung. Do you know why my granddaughter was really traveling through Vorthak space? Taesung thought about it. She was looking for allies. More than that. She was looking for someone worthy of a Heartstone bond. Someone who could help our people not just with military might, but with understanding. Elder Aaron gestured, and the water in the pool began to glow. Images appeared in its surface, showing the history of the Ashanti people. They had once been explorers and teachers, sharing their knowledge with younger species throughout the galaxy. But over time, they had withdrawn from the wider universe, becoming isolated and defensive. The Heartstones are not just weapons or tools, the Elder explained. They are bridges between minds and hearts. When two beings bond through a Heartstone, they share everything. Thoughts, feelings, memories, even lifespan. That sounds dangerous, Taesung said. It is the most dangerous thing in the universe, Elder Aaron agreed. To completely trust another being with your very essence. That is why it has never been offered to an outsider. She turned to Hana. Tell him why you were really at Haven's Rest. Hana looked embarrassed. I was coming back from the human colonies. I had been studying your people for months, trying to understand what makes you different from other species. And what did you learn? Elder Aaron asked. Humans are not the violent savages that others claim, Hana said slowly. They are protectors. They will sacrifice themselves for others, even strangers. Even enemies, if those enemies are helpless. Taesung felt uncomfortable with the praise. We are not that different from anyone else. You are wrong, Elder Aaron said firmly. When the Vorthak cornered my granddaughter, 17 other beings witnessed it. Traders, merchants, even security guards. All of them walked away. Only you stayed." She stood up and walked to a wall, covered in glowing symbols. "The Heartstones have chosen you, Kim Tae-sung. But the choice must be yours as well. Will you undergo the trial of hearts?" "What does that mean?" Tae-sung asked. "Hana will enter your mind and examine your memories and motivations. Every secret, every shame, every moment of fear or courage. Nothing can be hidden. If she finds you worthy, the bonding can begin." Tae-sung looked at Hana, who was watching him with those silver eyes. The idea of someone seeing all his memories terrified him, especially the memory of failing to save his sister. "What happens if I am not worthy?" he asked. "Then you leave this place and never return," Elder Aaron said, "and we prepare to face the Vorthak alone." Before Tae-sung could answer, alarms began, sounding throughout the city. Captain Lee's voice came over the communication system. "Vorthak fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. Massive force, at least 300 ships. They will be here in 6 hours." Elder Aaron closed her eyes for a moment. "War Master Throck has finally come for us himself. This is the moment of truth." She looked at Tae-sung. "The trial usually takes days to complete properly. We do not have days. Will you trust us with your mind, knowing that if something goes wrong, you may not survive?" Tae-sung thought about his sister Bo-young. He thought about Hana, cornered by those Vorthak bullies. He thought about all the innocent people who would suffer if the Vorthak got their hands on Heartstone technology. "I will do it," he said. Elder Aaron nodded gravely. "Then let us begin immediately. Captain Lee, prepare your defenses. Buy us as much time as you can." As they prepared for the trial, Tae-sung could see the human fleet moving into defensive positions around the planet. Ships that had come from dozens of different colonies, all crewed by volunteers who believed in doing what was right. He hoped he would prove worthy of their sacrifice. "Are you ready?" Hana asked softly. Tae-sung took her hand and felt a strange, tingling sensation. "As ready as I can be." The trial of hearts was about to begin, with the fate of 2 species hanging in the balance. The trial of hearts began just as the first Vorthak ships entered the outer system. Tae-sung lay on a crystal platform in the heart chamber, while Hana placed her hands on his temples. Elder Aaron stood nearby, watching over the process. "Relax. Your mind," Hana said softly. "Let me in." Tae-sung felt a gentle pressure in his head, like someone knocking on a door. He took a deep breath and let the door open. Suddenly, Hana was inside his memories. She saw his childhood on the farming colony where he grew up. His parents working long days in the fields. His little sister Bo-young following him everywhere, always asking questions, always trusting him to protect her. The memories moved faster. Tae-sung joining the colonial militia, learning to fly, meeting his friend Min-ho during training, the pride on his parents' faces when he became a pilot. Then came the dark memory he had tried so hard to forget. The pirate raid on his home colony. Tae-sung was away on a supply run when it happened. By the time he got back, half the settlements were burning. He found his parents' farm destroyed. His parents were alive but badly hurt. Bo-young was gone. Hana felt his pain as if it were her own. The guilt that ate at him every day. The feeling that he had failed the one person who needed him most. The pirates had taken Bo-young and dozens of other young people to sell as slaves. She was never seen again. "This is why you helped me," Hana whispered inside his mind. You could not save your sister, so you save others. The trial continued. Hana saw how Tae-sung had spent the years after Bo-young's disappearance. How he had quit the militia and become a cargo hauler, always moving, never staying in one place long enough to form attachments. How he had convinced himself that he was better off alone. But she also saw the truth he tried to hide from himself. Every time he helped someone in trouble, every time he stood up to bullies or pirates, he was trying to make up for that one moment when he was not there. You carry so much pain, Hana said, but also so much love. Through their mental connection, she showed him how she saw his memories. Where Tae-sung saw failure, she saw someone who cared so deeply that he would rather suffer than let others suffer. Where he saw weakness, she saw the greatest strength of all. The trial was interrupted by explosions outside. The Vorthak fleet had arrived. The shields are holding, Captain Lee's voice echoed through the chamber. But they are pounding us hard. How much more time do you need? Almost finished, Elder Aaron said, though her voice was strained. The heartstones were reacting to the trial, glowing brighter with each passing moment. In his mind, Tae-sung felt something changing. Hana's memories were flowing into him as well. He saw her life as an Ashanti princess, raised in peace and beauty, but always aware that her people were in danger. He felt her loneliness, being the only heir to so much responsibility. He saw her decision to travel in secret, against her grandmother's wishes, looking for someone who could help her people. Not just a warrior or a politician, but someone who understood what it meant to protect others. The stones have made their choice, Elder Aaron announced. The bonding can begin. But before they could complete the ritual, the chamber shook violently. Through the crystal walls, they could see enemy ships breaking through the planet's defenses. Ground forces are landing, Captain Lee reported. Vorthak shock troops. They are heading for the capital. We have to stop the trial, Hana said, pulling back from Tae-sung's mind. The city must be defended. No, Elder Aaron said firmly. The bonding must be completed now, while the stones are active. It is our only hope. Outside, they could hear the sounds of battle growing closer. Plasma fire, explosions, people screaming. Tae-sung sat up on the crystal platform. How long does the bonding take? Hours, Elder Aaron said. Maybe longer. We do not have hours. Tae-sung stood up and grabbed his weapon. Finish it later. Right now people need protecting. He ran toward the chamber entrance, but Elder Aaron called after him. If you leave now, the connection may be lost forever. The stones may not respond again. Tae-sung stopped at the doorway. Through the crystal walls, he could see Vorthak soldiers advancing through the city gardens. Ashanti civilians were running in terror. Children were crying for their parents. Then we will find another way, he said. I cannot stand here while innocent people die. Hana caught up with him. I am coming with you. You are not a fighter, Tae-sung protested. Today I am, she said simply. They rushed outside into chaos. The beautiful crystal city was under attack. Vorthak soldiers in heavy armor were smashing through the organic buildings, hunting for civilians. Their weapons cut through the growing walls like they were made of paper. Tae-sung and Hana took cover behind an overturned fountain. Around them, a few Ashanti guards were trying to organize a defense, but they were peaceful people with little combat training. The human volunteers who had landed with Captain Lee were fighting hard, but they were outnumbered. There, Hana pointed toward, a group of Ashanti children trapped in a collapsed building. 3 Vorthak soldiers were advancing on them, weapons ready. Tae-sung did not hesitate. He sprinted across the open ground, drawing plasma fire from the enemy soldiers. One shot grazed his shoulder, spinning him around, but he kept running. He tackled the lead Vorthak soldier, using the alien's own weight to drive them both to the ground. His combat knife found the gap in the creature's armor, and green blood sprayed across the crystal pavement. The second Vorthak turned his weapon on Tae-sung, but Hana was there. She had picked up a fallen guard's energy rifle and fired with surprising accuracy. The shot took the alien in the chest, dropping him instantly. The third Vorthak raised his weapon toward the children, but Tae-sung was already moving. He dove between the alien and the youngsters, taking a plasma bolt meant for them. The energy burned through his side, and he fell hard. "Tae-sung!" Hana screamed. As he lay on the ground, bleeding and in pain, Tae-sung could see more Vorthak soldiers approaching. Too many to fight. The children behind him were crying in fear. This was how it would end. Just like with Bo Young, he would fail to protect those who needed him most. But then something incredible happened. Hana knelt beside him and placed her hands on his wounds. "I will not let you die," she said fiercely. "Not like this." Without waiting for Elder Aaron or the proper ceremonies, she began the Heartstone bonding ritual on her own. The crystal pendant around her neck began to glow with brilliant light. Power flowed between them. Not just Hana's life force, but something deeper. The Heartstone was responding to their connection, to the pure desire to protect others that they both shared. Tae-sung felt his wounds healing, but more than that, he felt his mind expanding. Suddenly, he could sense the location of every Vorthak soldier in the city. He could feel the fear of every civilian, the determination of every defender, and he could coordinate them all. "Captain Lee," he said into his communicator, somehow knowing exactly where she was without looking. "Move your third squad to the Eastern Gardens. There are 20 civilians trapped there." "How do you know that?" Lee asked, but she was already giving the orders. "Min-ho, bring your ship down to the Temple District. Strafing run on the Vorthak armor column." "Tae-sung, are you all right? You sound different." He was different. The bonding had worked, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of a slow, careful joining of minds, the crisis had forced an instant, perfect connection. He and Hana were now truly one being in two bodies. Standing up, fully healed, Tae-sung began to coordinate the defense of the city with abilities no human had ever possessed. And slowly, impossibly, the tide of battle began to turn. The battle for the Ashanti capital turned in ways that no one could have predicted. With Tae-sung and Hana's minds joined by the Heartstone, they could coordinate the defense like a single organism with many parts. Tae-sung could sense every human pilot in the sky above and guide them to targets with perfect precision. Captain Lee's forces moved through the city like they had been training together for years. Min-ho's ship struck Vorthak positions with impossible accuracy. But the real surprise came from the Ashanti themselves. "Grandmother, what is happening?" Hana asked through their mental link as she watched peaceful Ashanti civilians picking up weapons. Elder Aaron's voice reached them both through the Heartstone connection. "The bonding is spreading. Your courage is awakening something in our people that has been sleeping for generations. For the first time in centuries, the Ashanti were fighting back. It was not just the sharing of tactical information that made the difference. Through the Heartstone bond, every defender could feel the determination and courage of every other defender. Fear began to fade, replaced by hope and righteous anger. War Master Throck himself led the final assault on the heart chamber where the heart stones were kept. The massive Vorthak commander stood 3 meters tall and wore armor that could stop almost any weapon. His personal guard of elite warriors had never been defeated, but they had never faced anything like this. Tae Sung met them at the crystal bridge leading to the inner city. Behind him stood Captain Lee, Min Ho, a dozen human volunteers, and twice as many Ashanti guards who had found their warrior spirit. "Surrender, human," Throck growled, his voice like grinding stone. "You have caused enough trouble." "The only trouble. Here is you," Tae Sung replied. Through the Heartstone bond, he could feel the support of every defender in the city. Their strength was his strength. The battle was fierce, but brief. Throck was a skilled warrior, but he was fighting alone while Tae Sung fought with the hearts and minds of an entire city behind him. When the dust settled, the War Master lay defeated, and his surviving soldiers were laying down their weapons. News of the victory spread quickly through Vorthak space. The mighty empire that had bullied smaller species for decades had been stopped by a handful of humans and a peaceful people who had found their courage. Other oppressed worlds rose up in rebellion. The Korvaxi declared their independence. The Deltans closed their borders permanently to Vorthak ships. Within weeks, the empire was collapsing as member worlds broke away one by one, but the real changes were just beginning. 3 months after the battle, Tae Sung stood in the same crystal chamber where his trial had taken place. But this time, he was not alone. Representatives from dozens of different species had come to witness something that had never happened before. The heart. Stone bonding between Kim Tae Sung and Princess Hana has created something new, Elder Aaron announced to the gathered crowd. Not just a joining of 2 minds, but a bridge between 2 species. The bond had grown stronger over time. Tae Sung could now understand the Ashanti language without translation. Hana could pilot human ships as if she had been born to it. But, more importantly, they had learned to share their different perspectives on the universe. "We hereby declare Kim Tae Sung the first heart-bonded guardian in our people's history," Elder Aaron continued. "And we offer the same bonding to any being who proves themselves worthy through service to others." This was the true reward that Tae Sung had never imagined. Not just enhanced abilities or a special title, but the chance to help create a new kind of alliance between species. Over the following year, more bonds were formed. Captain Lee bonded with an Ashanti warrior named Hyo Jin, combining human tactical thinking with Ashanti intuition. Min Ho formed a bond with a Korvaxi engineer, leading to incredible advances in ship design. But Tae Sung and Hana remained the first and strongest bond. Their connection had grown beyond mere partnership into something deeper than love, stronger than friendship. They were 2 halves of a single soul. "Any regrets?" Hana asked him one evening, as they watched the sunset from their shared home overlooking the capital city. Tae Sung thought about his old life as a lonely cargo hauler, running from his past and avoiding connections with others. Then he looked at the city below, where humans and Ashanti worked together, where children of both species played in the same gardens. "Only one," he said. "What?" "I wish Bo Young could have seen this. She always said I would do something important, someday." Hana took his hand, and through their bond he felt her love and understanding. "She knows," Hana said softly. "Somewhere she knows." 2 years later, Tai Sung was appointed as the first human ambassador to the Ashanti Collective. Together, he and Hana established the Guardian Corps, an organization dedicated to protecting oppressed peoples throughout the galaxy. The Corps grew quickly. Humans seemed to have a natural talent for the kind of selfless courage that made Heartstone bonding possible. Soon, human-alien bonded pairs were serving as peacekeepers, teachers, and protectors across dozens of worlds. The Vorthak Empire never recovered from its defeat. War Master Throk, now serving a life sentence for war crimes, reportedly told his guards that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy because they fight not for conquest, but for justice. 5 years after that first encounter at Haven's Rest, Tai Sung and Hana stood before the Galactic Council as it voted to accept the Guardian Corps as an official peacekeeping force. The same council that had once ignored Vorthak aggression now looked to human-led teams to solve conflicts and protect the innocent. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you had just walked away that day? Hana asked him after the vote. Tai Sung considered the question seriously. If he had not intervened, Hana would have been captured or killed. The Heartstones would have fallen into Vorthak hands. The Empire would have grown even stronger. Countless worlds would have suffered. But he also thought about the deeper truth that Elder Aaron had taught him. The Heartstones had not chosen him because he was special. They had responded to something that existed in many humans, something that just needed the right moment to emerge. Someone else would have done it, he said finally. Maybe not at Haven's Rest, maybe not that day, but someone would have stood up eventually. That is who we are. As they walked home through the Crystal City, where human and Ashanti children played together in the gardens, Tai Sung reflected on how one moment of choosing to do the right thing had changed everything. He had spilled blood defending an alien, woman he had never met. In return, he had received not just enhanced abilities or political power, but something truly unimaginable: the chance to help create a better galaxy where the strong protected the weak, where different species could become family, and where doing the right thing was always possible. The reward was not just his. It belonged to every human who chose courage over safety, every alien who chose hope over fear, and every being who believed that the universe could be a place where love was stronger than hate. And in a galaxy that had seen too much darkness, that was the most unimaginable reward of all.